Hello, parents and teachers who may be watching. Welcome to Creating Math Ahas for Parents. I'm Dr. Sandy Atkins, Sandy, and we're going to continue our look at the 5 strands of math proficiency. Now, before I get started, thanks so much to those of you who have subscribed to the channel. I really appreciate it. It makes a huge difference, so I hope you'll consider subscribing if you haven't already. In the description below, I'll leave the links to the video about the 5 strands of math proficiency and the other strands that have the separate videos for them so you can get a little bit more information. In this one, we're going to look at productive disposition. Now, the 5 strands, as you'll see if you look at that other video, they're intertwined, interrelated. For your child to be considered mathematically proficient, it's not just focusing on one strand and being great at that, it's being good at all 5 strands. So we want to make sure that we help your child become proficient in all 5. Now, some children are really great at procedures. They are fast. They've memorized their facts. They know the answers quickly, and that's great. We're not saying that's a problem. But have you ever had your child that's really good at procedures and really good at facts, and they get a story problem or a word problem, and they quickly want to do something else, or they seek your help immediately, or they start to look a little bit lost because they're so used to getting things quickly that when there's a bit of a challenge for them, that's when we start to see that productive disposition wane a little bit. We want to keep them still knowing they're great at math, even if there's a struggle involved. And that's hard for some children. It was hard for me, and I was really good at memorizing procedures and facts. So again, we want to make sure they're good at all 5. They know the why, the conceptual. They're flexible in the procedures. They can come at a problem a lot of different ways and know the most efficient strategy. They have strategic competence. They know they can use math to solve problems and know which math works the best for them. That adaptive reasoning understands how someone else is thinking, how they're thinking, notices patterns, and then this productive disposition. So it's that whole idea of I know math makes sense, it's useful, it's worthwhile, and if I stick with it long enough, I can work through it because it should always make sense. Okay? So, one thing involved in productive disposition is persistence. And notice the tree roots of this tree. It's that ability to know that if I stick with it, I will get it. So, persistence. And this is like the ultimate in persistence, I think. It's also understanding that one side of learning math is knowing what you already know. But being a mathematician involves those creative ways. And I know when I watched the movie Hidden Figures, that came home to me. The space program was doing mathematics that had not been used before. They had to figure out what would work to not just get the spaceship into space, but to get it back when they were orbiting the moon or landing back on launch pads. Think of all the math involved. And those are new problems that we want to make sure your child can solve. So it's important for your child to understand that problems can't always be solved quickly. Sometimes it takes a while. Sometimes it takes minutes. Sometimes it could take us a few days to work through the problem. So we want to make sure that your children learn about time, not immediately coming to their rescue to help them get an answer quickly. So productive struggle, I mentioned. Productive struggle is a part of this, and it's important for us to help our children become comfortable with being uncomfortable when it comes to solving math problems. Become comfortable with some struggle that may involve. Don't have them give up too quickly. Okay? So think about when you see your child struggling, when and how do you intervene? Now, there's a separate video on productive struggle where you can see this again if you'd like, and I'll leave that link below. But just take a moment, pause, and think about what do you do to help your child? Do you suggest next steps or do you show them things? Right? These are all possible ways to help them. Now, What the research has shown and what we got from this resource is different ways we help our child have different impacts on them. So there are telling responses. Sometimes we want to suggest a way they could solve the problem. Sometimes we show them a way to solve a problem, or we find an error in their thinking and we point it out. Now, this starts to lower the cognitive demand. And the cognitive demand is how the level of thinking your child is doing. So we want to make sure that we're keeping their thinking high. There are guidance responses suggesting a next step, changing the task, breaking into smaller. Now, what this does is move them away from their thinking, which is where we want to keep them, to our thinking. So we want to make sure that your child is confident that we value how they think about something. So there are probing responses. One thing we can do is help your child kind of find their own errors. And a lot of time that's when they explain their thinking to us or talk us through how they're thinking about it, and then something will hit. You see them light up and, oh, right. And then they're back to work again. See, that builds on their own thinking. It helps them see the problem differently. And in the strategic competence video, we talk about making math visible, building things, drawing pictures, that using language, using symbols. See, it's getting them to think through maybe by building or drawing a picture. Okay. And then those affordance responses, getting them to talk about how they're thinking again, and then praising effort, praising stamina, praising the perseverance. Be a little cautious of praising speed because we might not get the response, that ability that we're really wanting. So we want to reassure your child. We want to motivate them. We want to get them to develop persistence. And we want them to understand sometimes you need to stand up and walk away for a little bit and come back at the problem fresh. That's an important problem-solving ability. So we know if we can get your child to become perseverant, right? To be persistent, not giving up on the task, keeping the high level of thinking there, we're going to get very successful students in mathematics. Now, I hope you found this video helpful. Again, I will leave links below to the other related videos so you can get additional information. If you would, consider giving it a thumbs up, share with others that might find it helpful. Also, if you would, please consider subscribing. It really helps out the channel. It's free. And then click on that notifications bell so that you'll know when other videos become available. I'm posting videos this year, or trying to, every other week. So every 2 weeks, you should see a new video. And please don't hesitate to suggest a topic in the comments below, one that you'd like to see. I look at those and I'm happy to have some suggestions. So again, thumbs up if it's helpful, share, subscribe, notifications bell, and thanks so much for watching.